The Ravens were finally breathing a sigh of relief. The team looked whole, playing well, and everything seemed to point to that rocky stretch being behind them. But that calm didn't last long. A new injury took everyone by surprise, and it's a heavy name involved, Marlon Humphrey. The problem is this news comes just as the defense was clicking again, and his absence could change a lot more than it looks. What happened? How long will he be out? And what does this mean for the team over the next few weeks? Let's break down why this might be one of the worst pieces of news of the season for the Ravens. The Ravens had finally gotten the whole roster healthy and ready to roll, but that good stretch didn't last long. John Harbaugh confirmed that Marlon Humphrey will miss the Week 11 game against the Browns because of a finger injury. It was supposed to be just another normal week, but the team got one of those updates that instantly changes the atmosphere. The coach explained that the cornerback had his finger pinned, basically putting a wire and a hold the bone in place while it heals. It's an annoying procedure, and even if it doesn't sound severe, it requires care. Harbaugh said he hopes to have him back next week, which is a good sign, but it's still another obstacle at a time when Baltimore seemed to have everything under control. The silver lining is the schedule helps. With the Browns and Jets up next, the team has some margin to handle the absence of an important starter. Still, losing a defensive leader, especially someone with Humphrey's impact, is never easy. He had been finding his best rhythm in recent weeks, and now he'll need more patience until he's 100%. And that's precisely the issue. This new pause adds to a run of minor injuries that have been messing up Humphrey's year. He's been fighting to stay on the field, and it's starting to become a recurring theme this season. This isn't the first time Marlon Humphrey has had to deal with physical setbacks this season. Since the start of the year, he's been a constant presence in the medical tent. Even after an all-pro season in 2024, his body hasn't cooperated. He's needed attention in 8 of the 9 games he's appeared in, which shows how much he's been pushing the limits just to keep playing. Still, Humphrey has never stopped being a starter. He's played hurt, tweaking and adapting his game week to week, trying to maintain the elite standard that always defined him. But that kind of effort takes a toll, and now, with a finger injury, he was forced to stop. The truth is that this pattern of small injuries is starting to worry the coaching staff. The constant sequence of bumps and bruises prevents Humphrey from getting into that ideal game rhythm. Every time he starts to feel comfortable, something happens and forces him to take a step back. It's frustrating, especially for a player who has always stood out for his intensity and consistency. But if there's one thing Baltimore has learned in recent years, it's how to handle the unexpected, and that's where the depth of the defense becomes important. Because even without their top cornerback, the group still has solid names ready to take over the lead role. Losing a player like Humphrey would be a hard blow for any team, but the Ravens built a roster prepared for this kind of situation. Nate Wiggins and Chidobe Awuzie will step up as the top covermen, and both have already shown they can handle the job. The group's confidence is high, and Harbaugh knows he has players capable of maintaining the same competitive standard. Wiggins has been gaining playing time game by game. Young, fast, and with great route recognition, he's fit well into the scheme. Awuzie, on the other hand, brings experience and stability, the kind of defender who gives teammates confidence. Together, they form a solid duo that might even surprise during this stretch without Humphrey. Beyond them, the rest of the defense is also in a good moment. The front seven has been dominating the trenches and easing pressure on the cornerbacks. That chemistry between units has been one of the team's strengths, and it should help steady the ship while number 44 recovers. Still, it's impossible to ignore the weight Humphrey carries in the locker room. He's one of the most respected leaders on the roster, and his presence will be missed, especially because he was playing his best football of the year, and that progress was cut short just as things were coming together.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Humphrey's form before the injury looked promising. In the game against the Vikings, he turned in a dominant performance with 5 tackles and his first interception of the season, a play that showed the veteran's old form. He was bouncing back, both physically and mentally, and was starting to look like the player who can change the flow of a game That recovery wasn't an accident. After the bye week, the whole Baltimore defense seemed more synchronized, more aggressive, and more confident. Humphrey stood out within that improvement, leading by example and playing with the kind of energy the team needed. It felt like he was finally leaving the injuries in the past. But then came the setback. The hurt finger interrupted that growth. It's the kind of injury that doesn't sound huge, but it messes with timing and feel, especially for a cornerback who relies so much on his hands to snag passes, contest catches, and finish tackles. The timing of this pause was the worst part, because Humphrey was finally getting closer to his best. Now, the focus has to be keeping the team's progress while he heals. And fortunately, the schedule gives Baltimore a bit of breathing room before the tougher stretch of the season. The Ravens' schedule comes at a decent time. With the Browns and Jets next, the team can manage the roster and give Humphrey the time he needs to recover calmly. On paper, these are games that don't demand the starter's absolute peak performance, which helps preserve the group's health for what's coming. Starting in Week 13, though, things change. That's when the heavier divisional matchups arrive, Steelers and Bengals, and that's when Humphrey will be needed more than ever. Those games often decide the AFC North, and having your top cornerback available can make all the difference. So the plan is simple. Don't rush him back. Humphrey needs to return fully healthy, especially because the rest of the defense has been handling its business. The team understands the goal is long-term, and sacrificing a game or two now could mean a sturdier defense when the stakes are higher. If everything goes well, Humphrey should be back right when the team needs him most. After so many interruptions, this could be the ideal moment for the secondary's leader to return at full strength in the stretch run of the season. Marlon Humphrey's injury comes at a time when the Ravens finally seem in control, and that's what makes it so frustrating. The team was rolling, the defense was growing week by week, and he was getting back to his best. Now Baltimore has to prove once again it can stay steady without one of its main pieces. But maybe this break also becomes a positive, giving number 44 the time to heal completely and come back when it matters most, in the games that will decide the division. So the big question is, will the Ravens keep the same pace until he's back? Because one thing is certain, when Humphrey is ready, the team will need him at his absolute best to keep chasing big goals this season.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.